Hey everyone, we are live for a Teach Better Team Speaker Spotlight for the Teach Better Conference 2022. You guys know we are doing these like crazy because we want to feature the incredible speakers, the incredible educators that are going to be sharing their voice at the Teach Better Conference. The schedule is available, so we're hoping that this helps each and every one of you, whether you've been able to officially register or not. You can see the full lineup, every single title and description. And we're hoping these live videos help you kind of design the perfect schedule for yourself for October 14th and 15th at the Teach Better event. We'll be right back with all the fun. So feel free to comment that you are here and share this feed so more educators can take a peek at what's going on at the Teach Better Conference. Eli, I so appreciate you joining me live on this Friday afternoon. How are you feeling?
I am great. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Oh, it's so wonderful. I was so excited when I saw that I got to go live with you. We're trying to divvy these up. We have like 100 plus speakers that are doing lives with us July through September. And I was like, no, I'm taking Eli to happening.
I'm excited to get to chat with you too. We don't get to chat often enough.
I know, but I do get to sit in like meetings with you, masterminds with you, and I always value being able to hear about the work you're doing. So if somebody is listening to us now during this conversation and they don't know what you do and all the work that you do to support educators, would you mind sharing a little bit about yourself now?
Sure. Right now, I feel like I am a circus ringleader. Back to school season is in. I've spent the last 15 years as an elementary and middle school teacher. I've taught gen ed and physical education. And for the last 6 years, I was a principal. And about 2 months ago, I took the leap and I took a leap of faith as an opportunity presented itself with Curriculum Associates to spend my days supporting educators. So I get to work with teachers on professional development all day, every day, which is a ton of fun, some exhausting work. Especially during back to school season. I just finished leading all week. I've been leading sessions in Albuquerque with some new math curriculum, and it's been a blast. But boy, I'm tired.
Yes, I know this back to school season, regardless of how you're involved, is just seemingly exhausted. I know so many educators are wrapping up their summer and headed into the classroom, into their school buildings. And there is an element of excitement. It just comes with extreme tiredness. You know what I mean?
It's all worth it, though.
It's all worth it. So tell me a little bit about what you're sharing at the Teach Better conference.
So one thing that I always struggled with as a teacher was I was always like having to write objectives on the board. And I'm like, I don't understand why I have to do this. A lot of times I just didn't do it. I'm a little rebellious that way. I wasn't all about the wallpaper. I'm a really intentional person. And so last school year, my staff and I were really focusing on how we really increase student ownership. And as we talk a lot about engagement, we were like, we really need to work to better engage our students with objectives and really have our kids start to own that learning and to own what it is that they're going to be doing. And so we really started to dive into sheltered instruction and really started to figure out how do we bring those objectives to life and how do our teachers start to really interact with them and have our kids interact with them. And so that kind of started that work. And so we started doing some really great work around using objectives and tying them into engagement. And so I am really excited to share some of our findings and some of the work that we did with other people. So that's what I'm bringing to Teach Better 22. And I'm really excited to share some of that work as well as just adding to teachers' toolboxes, because that's what I love to do with, some engagement strategies, some cooperative learning, just different tools and tricks to give all my new friends.
So if I'm looking at the schedule, I mean, gosh, there's so many different sessions to sit in on and so many speakers. I know everyone is so eager to see what type of educator might be the best fit for your audience? Like when you're thinking through who's going to be sitting and experiencing this presentation, when if I'm doing some reflection and thinking, gosh, do I need to make sure this is added onto my schedule? Who do you think is the perfect fit?
I mean, just about anybody's gonna benefit over engagement strategies and those sorts of things. But the actual content, as far as really learning about objectives, are going to be teachers who are having to write objectives to their lessons and align them and want to engage their kids with objectives, as well as instructional coaches, administrators who are trying to lead that kind of work with their teachers as well. But so simple answer: anybody who wants to engage students, but especially those that want to really have some high leverage impact with something so simple that they can take back and use right away, objectively speaking.
It seems like there won't be a single educator that isn't a good fit for this session.
I'd like to think so.
Yeah, not in our Teach Better community. Our Teach Better community is all about aligned instruction, caring about students, making sure it's engaging and relevant, finding ways to develop student ownership. I feel like you're hitting the nail on the head here.
Yeah. Part of why I love being connected with Teach Better.
Yeah, tell me a little bit. Why was the Teach Better conference an event you wanted to be a presenter at?
So I love, my last year in the classroom is whenever I kind of discovered EduTwitter and started to really become a connected educator. And I made so many amazing connections over the years. And, finding that group of people that really motivate you, that uplift you, that celebrate you, that push you and challenge you, and just all the growth that can happen. I stumbled upon the Teach Better community through, I had made friends with Dave Schmittou a while back. And when Schmittou started doing a lot of work, it kind of led me here. And, Mastermind was where I first got connected with the Teach Better team. And I've made so many new connections, and I've learned so much. And I've had all of that connected educator stuff then, continued to flourish this way. And I've made some amazing friends, and I've had some great opportunities based on the new network I found and the new Teach Better family that I found myself a part of.
I'm so glad that, one connection can introduce you to so many more opportunities, so many more connections. And I'm looking in the comments here, Joshua Stamper with us, Willow, and Brad Hughes in the chat as well. I just think it's so interesting to be able to think through that all of us have connected virtually, and what a fun opportunity for us to connect in person. Maybe for some people, the first time, for others to see old friends when we all head to the conference in October.
I can't wait.
So fun. So if you had a piece of advice for an educator that was listening, maybe something related to your session or even just as a connected educator, how can we give them a piece of advice that they can take some action steps as they kick off the year, knowing, like we were saying early on, it's an exhausting time of year and there's a lot to juggle?
I'm going to go back to the message that I always spoke to teachers when I was a principal, and that I said, I don't know how many times this week, as I mentioned I'm working with teachers in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Albuquerque Public Schools just adopted a new math core curriculum, and that's what I'm getting to work with them on right now. And, the new school year brings so many challenges because so much is new. And there's a lot of feelings of overwhelm and fear whenever we try new things, a lot of nervousness. And I just like to keep reminding teachers that we can do hard things. And so we're doing hard things right now. In the beginning of the school feels hard at times, but there's so much excitement and we have to let that drive us. But a message that I've always, and I learned it the hard way as an early teacher, I would come into school at 6 a.m. and I'd race the alarm at midnight. And, that to-do list was always a mile long. And I slowly discovered that I could work as many hours as I wanted, or I could work, a normal amount of hours that I wasn't completely exhausting myself all the time. But that to-do list never seemed to shrink no matter which side I was on there. And so my biggest piece of advice to educators is, we're educators, but we're also people. And so we have to, educate. Our job is a big part of who we are, but it's not all we are. And so we have to remember that to-do list never ends. And so at some point, it's okay to put it aside and we still have to live. And I think that's really important to drive home. And it has nothing really to do with my session, but at this time of the school year, as we are getting ready to head back, or we are back, we have to remember to take care of ourselves first, and to remember the to-do list never ends. And so we just have to kind of prioritize and be okay with, I've done enough today. And if all we did today was do what was best for kids, that's all we have to do. And that's all we need to worry about.
Such an important reminder and such a wonderful thing to emphasize now. I think that pieces of advice related to balance and finding some sort of time for yourself outside of work sometimes comes too late, right? You're like, you've spent all this time burning yourself out, and now someone's like, hey Eli, don't forget to do something for you too. And you're like, gosh, where were you a few weeks ago? And I think this is such an important reminder right now to say, even as we're just beginning the back to school excitement, don't forget to be intentional with how you build your schedule. And you're right, the to-do list never ends. Isn't that funny how that works?
I can remember I was a couple years in teaching, and my family really wanted to go on this weekend getaway. And it was a weekend before back to school. And I'm like, I can't go out of town right now. Like, my kids start school Monday. And we went. And that was actually the last year that I didn't go out of town the weekend before school. I always purposely did it because I needed to remind myself I had to recharge, and I need to be ready, because if I don't take care of myself, I can't take care of others.
So funny. Brad Hughes has a similar message he shares, and has shared with me quite frequently, that teachers can do hard things. And I think that this idea of finding balance and encouraging one another and everything else is not only something so relevant right now, but also something you're going to see a lot of at the Teach Better conference, whether you're looking for it or not. I just know that the energy when we did this back in 2019 was something inexplainable. And I'm so excited to be able to share that with you and a lot of our friends watching right now when we all get together in October. For those of you who are listening live with us, or even if you're catching this after the fact, I want to encourage you to head to teachbetterconference.com. Make sure you register. We definitely want to make sure you get a ticket before we sell out. We are intentionally keeping this conference small. It's by design that way. So please make sure you scoop up that ticket as soon as possible. There is a donors choose element on August 9th that they will match any purchase. So that is an option if you're looking for some funding to make sure you can attend the conference. But also, Eli does, as a featured speaker, have a code as well to get you some money off. So you can direct message him on social media to get that code. Eli, can you share how people can stay connected to you so that they can either follow you on Twitter or anywhere else you like to share your voice?
Yeah, my handle's the same all across the board. It's at Mr. Coach Eli. I'm on Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I'm on pretty much everything. So I love making new connections and meeting people. So if we're not already connected, I'd love to connect with you. And if we are, and we haven't chatted lately, make sure that you say, hey. And I really want to know who I'm connected to that is attending the Teach Better conference, because I want to make sure that I get to meet as many people in person as possible.
I couldn't agree more. I think that's what I love about keeping the conference relatively intimate is our goal. We always joke, but I really mean it, is that we want all of our team members to have a one-on-one conversation with every single person at the event. And I love that because, Eli, I have the same experience where you walk up to somebody and you're like, I know you. I know your Twitter profile. Like, now this is the first time we're meeting in person. I want to make sure I soak up all those moments. So it's always good to see your virtual friends in real life.
I want everybody to, like, people are like, I'm a short guy. And so sometimes people are like, I didn't realize you were that short. So I want as many people to make that realization in person as they can.
See, it's always funny to see people's heights. There's other things too. We just did our Teach Better retreat where we had our whole team come together, and the majority of our team had never, ever met in person. And there were a lot of jokes like, I didn't know you had legs. I've only seen you from the waist up. It's like funny things like that. It's so fun to be able to see height and everything else, to really get to know that final 1% we don't get to see virtually.
Absolutely.
Well, Eli, thank you so much for coming live with me. But more importantly, thank you so much for sharing your message at the Teach Better conference upcoming here, October 14th and 15th. I want to encourage everybody again, if you have not registered, or if you have a friend that hasn't registered, make sure you encourage them to snag that ticket and reach out to Eli for that discount code. Any final words of encouragement before we log off here, Eli, and head into a fun weekend?
No, just always remember my go-to phrases right behind me here. Be real, be kind, be you. And I look forward to seeing everybody and making some new connections.
Outstanding. Have a wonderful Friday, friends, and we will see you next week at Admin Mastermind or any of the hundreds of other ways you can stay connected to the team. Bye, guys.